to get what I want, right? Which is information. And I get a phone call or over the radio net at 11:30 at night, 22:30 at night, saying, hey, at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, I want you to have this location completely isolated off. I want you, here's the location. I want this, and this surrounding it. Nothing in, nothing out. You got it? Roger, can I have any more information? No, just execute. Roger. So what do you think's happening at the 03 at that time? A night raid, right? By who?
Special forces.
Or, right, or someone else, right? But some people that aren't even accustomed to what's going on in my area of operation, right? Some people from outside. So what do? They come in, they kick in the door of the elder that I've been working with, that I've built a relationship with, you know what I mean, over about 6 months. They abuse, but they do this kind of very similar deal, right? And then guess what happens the next morning when old Captain Carson gets rolling up into the, you know what I mean? And the whole time I'm going, dude, what are they doing? That's not my, stop, right? What do you think happens? Do you think I could go into that town, back into that village now and talk to those people? Because do you think they know that they don't trust me anymore? So I just wanted to highlight that, yes, that happens on all different accounts. And the guiding principle is, hey, you treat everybody dignity and respect, right? No matter what's going down.
And a quick blurb about partners and allies. So we've talked a lot about the guys you're fighting against and understanding them, but also your partners. When you're doing these military operations, it's very rare that we're by ourselves. And if you're, say for example, who gets to sit at the table? You got a New Zealand 1-star, and you got 3 American 2-stars and an American 3-star. Does the 1-star get a seat at the table if there's only, whatever the math, there's not enough room for all the generals to sit down? Well, in the New Zealand Army, a 1-star happens to be the number 2 in their army. It's equivalent to our 4-star vice chief of staff. Treating them all well, thrilled that they're at the table in the first place. It's extremely valuable. Okay, so now on to my favorite phase. My favorite phase is shaping, because that's one of the funnest things to do as a FAO, is to go out and travel and engage partner nations and go out there and build those friendships. Without cultural sensitivity, that's going to fail as well. And there have been plenty of guys in shaping activities that have failed. There was a guy recently at a staff college who went there and decided that every single time somebody said something critical of America, he was going to fight back full bore. Well, guess what? People say a lot of critical things about America. It's not hard to pick at America. And he eventually got asked to leave. In a non-confrontational culture, this was in Asia, so not a lot of confrontation happens in Asia, right? He got told, they called his attaché in the capital and said, send this guy home. Now, that's a major embarrassment. And that affects dozens, if not hundreds of people, because this guy wasn't ready to just sit back and listen, observe, not be a rich, and do the right thing. So in this shape operations, when we're in this phase 0, we build friends, we assure allies, we demonstrate our capabilities to follow through. If you're a friend of ours, you want to be closer to us. If you're an adversary, you look at us and see, oh, messing with them is a bad idea, I'm not even going to get into it. I don't want to push us out of shaping phase of operations. So when it comes to the strategic level, we're talking like the 3-star service component commands, or actually here at USARPAC now 4-star, the combatant commands and up. They put a lot of emphasis on engaging these foreign partners for the purpose of building relationships. And again, without that cultural sensitivity, you're going to mess up all over the place. You'll do things like get off the plane in Thailand wearing a red shirt. Does that mean anything to anybody? What does it mean?
Well, it's like not the rebellion, but protesters for his government.
Yeah, they have red shirts, yellow shirts. The 2 major political parties. Imagine if Netanyahu got off the plane here and was wearing a big elephant. And we're like, oh, he's obviously for the Republican. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. So, was there another hint about red shirts?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's one of the government parties kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine you, this is an obvious one, but you go to India and you are presenting gifts to the generals and present a gift that's made out of leather. That's not going to fly. Even though next door in Bangladesh, they give us leather all the time. It's
See, I would never have thought of that. That is
Yeah.
terrible.
That's why you gotta ask the
Does
thing.
anyone know why? You guys know
Yeah, you
why?
understand why, right?
Who does not understand why? That's okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So go.
See, I gotta step out of my cultural fish
Yeah,
pond.
you gotta say, buddy. You think everyone knows who you're talking about, right? We're talking about cadets.
Predominantly Hindu.
And where do Hindus practice?
Pay attention, pay attention.
Listen.
Predominantly vegetarian Hindus. So anything to do with animal stuff, a lot of times when you go to a Hindu temple, you have to take off all of any leather goods. You might, if you got a leather belt, you take it off. So how do we do this at
That's
this?
because cows are sacred.
Cows are sacred, but also just life with the view that life is all connected through reincarnation. That all life is valued. So you know, any animal products,
No.
don't do it. Yeah, I had somebody try to give a sword with big pig tusks coming out. It was a Hawaiian sword, you know, but it was like, no, stop! Don't even put that on the plane. You know, that's not staying here. We can't do that. You know. Okay, so at that level, we're talking strategic. This is again the fun stuff because this is making friends. We do security cooperation. We do security assistance in building relationships. So security cooperation. I wouldn't be surprised if you're prior service, if you're involved in something like this, where you're doing a joint exercise, you're doing joint training, or an expert exchange. Example that I love to share is the Nepal Army has an air wing, but they're woefully undertrained, and they don't have a lot of expertise, so we send our guys from Alaska to go there. Alaska, Nepal, high altitude, makes a lot of sense. Aviation mechanics from Alaska will go there and we'll sit down and have an exchange about best practices. Build relationships, build a little bit of capacity for them. And security assistance, that's where we're, no kidding, actually directly, it's not so much of a two-way street, providing them with assistance through weapon sales, equipment sales. IMET, I don't know, does anybody know what IMET means? International Military Education and Training. I'm sure that you gentlemen have run into foreign officers in your courses in the Army. That IMET gets them there. When you guys go to officer basic course, you most certainly will have foreign officers as classmates. You know, talking about a great way to build partnership. Show them what America's like. When I was in Pakistan and I would meet a guy who was an IMET graduate, their view of America was different than everybody else because they'd been to America. We take them, we send them to the course, well, especially for poorer countries, we pay for everything for them. Their lodging, I don't think we give them a car, but their lodging, their transportation, their food, and of course the course, and then we send them on a tour of America. You know, I mean, we're selling America, but they come back and they appreciate it a lot more.
Hey, I want to make a comment on that. So, this is really important, and you'll see it in our own culture. You know, how many people have ever talked to a Maglo about where his family's from and what, you know what I mean, and where he's from? How many? Raise your hand. Couple, right? So, and I'm not saying obviously a Maglo is a foreign officer or anything like that, but obviously a Maglo is from, you know, a different culture than most of us, right? Comes from a different, you know, life, a different style. What I will tell you is that a lot of the international officers that you will come across and what he's talking about, you'll see our American culture. What do? If you'll show up at IOBC or you show up to your bullet course or whatever, and you'll have all the Americans, and then you'll have a couple of international officers, and no one will go over and hang out with them or talk to them or get to know them, right? None of them will. Why? Because I don't know. Because there's some kind of, you know, I don't know what it is. But you guys understand what I'm talking about? Or is that, I feel uncomfortable going and talking to them. I will tell you that is the most valuable experience. Some of the most valuable experiences you'll have when you go to bullet or when you go to your courses. Quick story. At my advanced course, and this is prior to me ever serving in combat, there was an officer from Saudi Arabia, a captain from Saudi Arabia, okay? Actually, I think he was a major. And obviously Muslim, okay? And I stepped on my, cultural many times. But he had me to his house a lot of times, and the same thing, you know, the woman, you know, he'd have his wife and his daughter in the back and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I'd ask why, you know, and he would explain it to me. At the end, and a lot of times, because he was my battle buddy, I claimed him as my battle buddy. He was still trying to figure out whether or not he wanted to claim me. Of course, he spoke broken English, but so on FTXs at night, freezing cold, man, right? And what do you do if it's freezing cold out in the woods? Like, boom.
Snuggle up.
You spoon. You spoon, right? Yeah. So, and he was kind of a bigger guy, right? And so there was one opportunity where I like got a little closer to him, and he was kind of like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I tried to explain to him, like, spoon, you know, how spoons sit. You know what I mean? We keep warm, we get together, you know, in that kind of broken ass English, you know what I mean? And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine over here," kind of is what he kind of described to me. But as we went through that course, it got colder, and there was certain times where, and as our relationship grew, he finally figured out, you know what I mean, that, yeah, that's a good idea. And of course, we laughed about it and all that kind of stuff. But at the end, when he was about to go home, a very wealthy individual, he had a Mercedes, brand new Mercedes that he had bought for him and his family when he got to Fort Benning to use while he was there at the course. He offered it to me. He wanted me to have the Mercedes when he went back to Saudi Arabia. For free, absolutely, based on the relationship that I had built with him, and of course I couldn't take it, you know what I mean? But you can imagine the honor, that I felt, and I'm not telling you to go find the some of you guys are thinking it's for free? No.
Yeah, go become friends with someone from an all-producing company.
But my point was, it was very, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, that small relationship that I had with that individual, that major, for that, 8 months or whatever I was at that course, set me up for success when I went to Iraq for the first time. Because it allowed me to have a better understanding of their culture, and better understanding of how to communicate and approach, you know what I mean, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's just something to think about.
And it's such a double-edged sword on that. It improved you,
Yeah,
and improved his view of America,
yeah.
and then you're going to be able to go back, and this happens to me all the time, because when I wasn't the only one at my staff college, there was people from all over. I wasn't the only foreigner. There was 30 other foreigners. I go to I meet somebody from their army, I say, "Hey, do you know this guy?"
Yeah.
And a lot of times the people
Oh,
that
yeah.
get sent to foreign courses
best.
are the best. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying I was. We don't do it that way. We send anybody. But no, the guys who were going to the Pakistan Staff College were like, they didn't get UK or America, but they got Pakistan, so they're not too happy to be there. But they got a foreign course, which is a big deal in the Foreign Army. So and so you meet somebody. At one point in my region, so that's like again Nepal, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan. Every single chief of army was a graduate of some U.S. war college or staff college. I mean, these guys are future leaders,
Yeah.
especially at the staff college level, but even at the
Leonard
No,
Woods.
you'll see
Leavenworth.
you'll see it huge at
Yeah.
Leavenworth at ILA, and you got to get in there and meet those guys,
Yeah.
because you will see them again when you're downrange somewhere in the
Now,
world.
Rhoda, sir, at Leavenworth, just so you guys are tracking where they have ILE, they actually have a wall of the people that you're describing,
International
sir.
Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
exactly. The International Hall of Fame, people who graduated from the courses there and have gone on to lead their militaries. They actually have their pictures on the wall, and so some become dictators, which is okay.
yes.
So,
Yeah, we can run down the failures of IMED and how many people.
but I mean, but it's
Noriega, I think, was an IMED grad.
But like, for example, for some of you guys that are going to go to Ranger School, I had a foreign officer in my squad in Ranger School. I went through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question, Kevin?
Oh, sir, I was saying the IMET program, is that what they have at like Fort Shafter? Because I noticed when I drove during the weekdays, there's like Australian soldiers there, and one of the generals is an Australian.
Yeah, that's not IMED, that's exchange. And that's a really neat thing that we've done at USERPAC. They've done it since I've been there, where one of our deputy commanding generals is an Australian officer. And we have a handful of liaison officers and a handful of actual no-kidding exchange. Liaison officers will sit in there and act as a go-between, but exchange officers are like, he's in the 3, he's a staff officer doing regular tasks, he just can't look at all the classified stuff.
They did that in 82nd with the deputy commanding general too. Yeah.
That's right.
Make him a British,
Yeah.
1-star.
It's great
Crazy.
fun. It's great fun. So, and you hit as well, building relationships.
Yeah.
That is such a key part of the SHAPE phase of operations at all levels. So I think we hit the nail on the head. Cultural understanding is essential to all these things. One thing we didn't mention is language training. You may not get the privilege of going to the Defense Language Institute and doing nothing but language study for 6 hours a day for a year, but that doesn't mean you can't learn a little bit. And even if it's just somebody you're just meeting, how hard is it to Google, how do you say hello in Sri Lankan? I have a Sri Lankan classmate, how do you say hello there? And just something like that, man, they like, you took care to learn something about a language. It opens it up.
That's a great point. You guys can do that kind of stuff here too.
Uh-huh.
Because like when I got here and I found out that Cadet Bermudez could, I went through and I learned as much of the alphabet as I could. And now when I see him every once in a while, I open up with something and he'll teach me a article, something like, hey, this is how you say this, is how you do that, and kind of stuff. So you can practice that kind of stuff here, and then all of a sudden, anytime I see Bermudez now, he lights up and he comes over to me right away.
Yeah, it means so much, because they're a fish out of water. If you go to the DLI website, there are tons of absolutely free resources to learn just about any language. And you can train yourself up pretty easily. All right, I want to show you this video. This is a good video. There's nothing bad here. This is a good example of us partnering with another army. And this is near and dear to my heart because I've worked on the India problem for a long time. So try to pull out things that you see in here that shows cultural sensitivity.
That was not me.
Yeah.
There, yeah, it's going.
I'm just gonna start it over.
This is actually produced by a U.S. Army soldier who went on from there, ETS, and went to USC for film school. So we really wanted to hold on.
Is this UA?
YA.
UA.
You the obvious.
This 25th?
Yeah. This one was good.
This 25th? This second brigade?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Damn it, Bill Gates, come on.
Yeah, so you guys have heard of Pacific Pathways that USAPAC's doing with all the, Colonel Pipes talked a little bit about that, building capacity, building some of the,
Relationships, capacity, and security cooperation.
security cooperation. This is an example of security cooperation. That's pretty cool.
This is in India.
Yeah, I remember them talking about this. And this is like the craziest thing they've ever done for a lot of people. Yeah.
Indian and American soldier together. You know, through this.
Yeah. They talked about crawling through those, and it was kind of like a stress shoot that they did, but they're like, they couldn't believe it, because that's how the Indians train, a lot of their marksmanship and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and oh, by the way, guess what? You think this was an infantry unit? This is a field artillery unit, 2nd Brigade. This is 211 FA. Alright? This is 211 FA, 2nd Brigade, that went out and did this operation. What was the fast water? 214. Yeah.
It's so awful.
saw there that was, showed the positive adaptation to culture and respecting our partners. Yoga, doing yoga,
The Holi celebration,
the holy celebration, yeah. What else?
actually like doing the training that they do, like when we do that.
Yep. And that's what we do, when we went to Fort Bragg 2 years ago, we did our stuff, and this summer, this fall, we're gonna be at Fort Lewis. So, we do it the way we do it when we're on our land, and, yeah. What else do you see? There's sports as well, that was a big thing. And as much as, if you look at, especially that video, and if you look at the comments of this video, it's very positive, and this video got around, and this is a great message of us partnering, because it never shows the US leading, it shows us side by side. It's not like, you look at some older pictures, and you can still see in the data of like, a bunch of these poor dumb foreigners learning from the great Americans, almost colonial-like, and it's not the message we want to send.
Is it cool that you're, so my most recent command, the last big thing I did before I changed out here at 25th ID was I was a part of Operation Full Eagle. So my sapper company was a part of a bigger task force that went over to Korea and actually trained with the Republic of Korea, Korean Army there, and specifically with the engineers there. So all the different training we did, they showed us our demo, we showed them our demo, they showed us their demo, all that kind of stuff, and spent an entire month doing all this outstanding training with them. It was incredible, like literally taking them through and actually qualifying their squads and their platoons in live fire exercises and joint exercises and things like that. And what we do every night is that we would go through and we'd say, hey, listen, you teach us a word in Korean, in Korean, we'll teach you a word in Hawaiian, since since a lot of them spoke pretty good English already. So then to kind of share cultures, and at the end of it, we said, okay, well, we're kind of running out of Hawaiian words because none of us know a whole lot of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell you what our company motto is. We have a very specific company motto. It's different than our battalions and so on and so forth based on our lineage. And it's first in, last out. And they said, that's ours. And what we found out is that our companies, the lineage of our companies, dated back to the Korean War, and we had fought, our lineages have fought alongside each other in the Korean War. And then we came back later on to train together. I mean, just incredibly cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do the Indians drink? No, because they're Muslim.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They drink a lot?
Oh, yeah, they do.
All right, do the Koreans, hold on, do the Koreans drink? Did you drink on that at all?
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay, I mean, so I wanted you to understand this. So one of the ones that I did in 114 was I did the one in Japan. Do the Japanese soldiers or Japanese people like to drink?
Yes.
A lot, right? It's part of their culture, correct? A lot of sake, soju, all that kind of stuff. So, ethical dilemma. You ready for one? Let's see if you guys can figure this out. So I am partnered with a Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force infantry battalion. Okay? My battalion commander is partnered with an 06 who is the regimental commander of this organization. Okay? Of course, every time at the end of our training, we have we go and we have socials, right? Where we get together and we drink. My battalion commander is a Mormon. My commander doesn't use bad language. My battalion commander doesn't cuss, and he doesn't drink. So when he explained that through the interpreter to his counterpart, who was an 06, prior to us drinking, right, because he was offered, right, right off the bat, no, this is why, through the interpreter, I don't know if it translated as well as what it did. So it was fine initially, but after the first couple of rounds, and what do you do if someone offers you a drink?
Take it or
Do you-
respectfully decline.
Okay, respectfully decline. So what happened was, over time, in that first engagement, okay, and after multiple engagements of getting together to drink, because that's what their culture does. After they train, they get together and drink. All of our soldiers got together and drank. The relationship kind of grew apart from my battalion commander and the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force 06. Because they found that they didn't have anything in common, you know what I mean? And no matter how much, I was there for 2 months, no matter a month and a half, no matter how much they're socially, they get together and they drink. So there was nothing for them to communicate and talk about anymore after that first incident. Once the Japanese guy figured out that the American guy didn't drink, and the American guy, the battalion commander, wasn't going to go against his morals or his, you know what I mean? And thank God there was other folks around that allowed the operation to freaking really happen, you know what I mean, and be successful, because their relationship did not, because of that one simple thing. So think about that as an ethical dilemma. Does who you are, what you stand for, what your religion says about you, how much of an impact does that have if I'm trying to do what Greg did, Captain Road.
I think that with that story, I remember you telling that story last time.
Yeah.
And I think, well, one of the things that he maybe could have done was like have a Coke
Yeah.
or something like that.
Oh, he did.
But what's interesting is that General Brooks is our commander.
Yeah.
He's a vegan.
Yeah.
Doesn't eat meat at
Yeah.
all.
Oh, yeah.
And so he goes, and when you want to show hospitality in Asia, what do you feed?
Yeah.
You feed meat.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to my house. Here's some peas. You know, that doesn't
Yeah.
work. So of course we have to communicate that out to the foreign partner, but that I think my argument for you would be that I don't believe that it's just the alcohol, because General Brooks, even though he won't eat their meat,
Yeah.
he still can build a great relationship.
No, well,
Because
what
he
the
treats them
problem
well.
was is that the alcohol started to take its effect,
Mhm.
right? So if my battalion commander is the only one sober in the room, and everyone else is kind of let their guard down a little bit, it was very uncomfortable.
He didn't try to fake it, sir.
Huh?
He didn't try to fake it.
Well, he did try to, so, you know, at the last thing that we did, you know, when they do the drum ceremony, they bring out, there's a big, wooden thing that has, what is that called? You guys know what I'm talking about? Anybody here? No one knows what I'm talking about? It's got the sake in it, it's a traditional Japanese
I know
sake.
you're talking about, sir, so it's got like, you know, the
Yeah,
woven stuff on
and
the
you've got
outside.
the lindle, you know what I mean, and you drink from the lindle and all that. Well, he tried to do a shift, you know, with water, because I was trying to take care of him, right? Because now he's up on stage in front of both battalions,
Oh my god.
right? And the lindle's coming down, you know what I mean? And it didn't work out. So he just faked, you know, drinking it and then passed it. But you know, all of us in the front tables and all of us, you know, that were there, you know, and his counterpart knew, you know, you're faking it, dude. So it was just it was a very delicate situation that we had to continue to massage. And I even was approaching him several times from his counterpart going, what is wrong with your commander?
Mhm.
Right? What is wrong with him? Why, you know? So it was just kind of an interesting challenge, but something that, you know, we
Usually a
survived.
good way is to go the opposite. You can get hyped on caffeine while everybody's having a drink.
Yeah.
It usually works pretty well.
But it's something I want you to consider, you know, down the road, as you get into an environment like that, where a lot of stuff that you're doing depends on your relationship with your counterpart. You know? But do you bend who you are to make that happen? Do you bend who you are to ensure mission success?
I had a friend who went to the Thai Staff College, and they would, instead of offering him a drink, would offer him a woman. And he would be like, whoa, I'm a married man. And so he still was able to say, no, that's a red line for me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cross it. And they want to respect him for it, but it's
Yeah.
hard. It's
Yeah.
not easy. 3:30, right?
We got about 5 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes, okay.
Okay.
So, let me wrap it up. So what can you do? Here's some thoughts for you as we wrap it up. Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you do not need the fear of 100 battles. I'd add allies and partners. If you know your allies and partners, you know yourself, you know your enemy, you don't need to fear. Understand those global cultures. Go out and eat in different restaurants. This is a great, you guys are way ahead of me in terms of your exposure of just what's right around here at the university. I love coming over here and having great Greek food and all sorts of other stuff. Sensitize your soldiers to cultural issues, especially as you see it coming up. And you hear them talking. You know, you hear them say ragheads or hajis or something like that. You know, some of those disparaging terms about other ethnicities, even if nobody in the room is of that ethnicity. You got to stamp that out. That not only potentially can get you in trouble with EO issues, but it can also taint their view of the enemy and or partner that they eventually work with. The big example, of course, you know, helping them understand what different gestures mean, like the Iraqi one of stop or come. As you know you're going to engage with another army, learn as much as you can, dive deep. I would also advise you as up and coming officers to pick an area of the world and just study as much as you can out of it. Right now, Asia Pacific is where it's at. Study, the more you know about China, the smarter you're going to be about a lot of things. I would personally get a subscription to The Economist, and those are simple to read articles for a guy like me that doesn't like to read a lot. You know, you can get through an article in about 5 minutes and understand what's going on around the world. And my story that I meant to weave in earlier, but I didn't weave in well was that I was in the Pakistan Staff College when we got bin Laden, and I got to watch the unfolding of that scenario. And it's an interesting now coming back from a cultural sensitivity perspective that we were all about the objective, which was getting the guy, getting the target, the HVT, high value target, and I'm not sure that we considered as much the all other cultural implications. Like I said, I had been to Abbottabad just a few weeks prior, and been only a quarter mile away from his house. I'm aware of how near and dear Abbottabad is to the heart of the Pakistan Army, and going there, it was very embarrassing for them, for us to find him there. I mean, it's not our fault that we found him there, but for us to go in and in the middle of the night, totally evade all of their countermeasures, and knock down the door and get the most wanted guy in the world.
And burn a helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, outstanding military operation, and made movies about it, but is it worth the cultural price we paid for it? Our relationship with Pakistan set back. For the rest of my year there, they could talk about nothing else. It was only a couple more months, but still. So, that was my thoughts.
And I wanted to ask you to reflect on the impact that had once that went down. How were you treated prior to, and then, you know?
Well, the wonderful thing is that, and I'll argue that because I treated them with respect the whole time, that even when my country did something that they didn't like, they still treated me well.
Yeah.
So they would say, hey, I love Americans, I just don't like American policy. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Americans vote for the leaders that create the policy, so I won't tell them that. But yeah, I mean, I would do all I can to show respect for them, and they were so impressed that I knew their language, and so impressed that I could even read their newspaper in their script and stuff, that they knew that I wasn't there to just be Team America and show how awesome we were. And actually, about a month later, my housemate and I, both Americans, we had to stand up and present in front of the whole student body, our country, America. Like every foreigner had to do that.
That was tough,
So
wasn't it?
how in the world, and do we have any pictures of people kicking down doors? No. And people know how great our military is, so I didn't talk about that. I talked about the role of Muslims in America. I talked about the role of family and how our values and stuff like that. And it wasn't about how awesome we are. The world knows that, show them how compassionate and considerate we can be. So, that's my spiel.